Hello, ninth graders. So we are asynchronous Tuesday and Wednesday this week for SLCs. And while that means you do not have Zoom classes with us, you still are expected to engage in some asynchronous work time for each class. And in this video, I'm going to be covering the assignment that I need for you to complete for humanities. It's on Google Classroom and it's called A Psychology Researcher Explains. And the assignment is a critical analysis of this article here. A psychology researcher explains how social media is changing us. So here is why this particular assignment is critical for our project. If you scroll down, you'll see that this article is not written in the same format as the last article that we read together. That was an op-ed, and it was in the same, the typical paragraph format. This article is the information is provided to us in this question and answer format. So essentially what we are reading is the actual interview that was conducted between the author of the article, Keith Spencer, and his interview subject, who is a psychology researcher with expertise in social media and how it affects our psychology. And her name is Dr. Erin Vogel. Now, here is why this particular assignment is so incredibly important to this project. Dr. Erin Vogel, whose research you will read about in this article, is going to be visiting us this coming Friday as our guest speaker. So as I mentioned before, she is a psychologist. She is currently teaching, she's a professor at Stanford University, and she is really revered for the work that she's done and the information that she's contributed to research relating to how social media has affected the psychology of young people over the last several years. So she's going to be coming to visit us to have a conversation about her work as it relates to our project. And this assignment is going to help us to prepare for that conversation. So of course, just as we did with our last article, as you read through, my expectation is that you have very thorough annotation and highlighting. So I want to bring your attention up to the legend here. We've discussed this before, but in some cases with this last article that we read together, this was really lacking. So for full credit, my expectation is that you're very, very thorough with your analysis and your annotations. Main ideas and claims are going to be highlighted in turquoise. Anytime the author or the interview subject provides some kind of evidence for those claims, so maybe they refer to a study, maybe they provide some data or statistics, that is evidence to support claims, and I want you to highlight that in orange. Any questions that you have are highlighted in yellow, and that includes unfamiliar terms and connections to the text. So anytime you can relate to something that you have read, or anytime that you find what you're reading is relevant to the world or to perhaps something else that you've read or watched or seen or heard in the news, those are all important connections, and you're going to highlight those in green. Now let's talk a little bit about the discussion questions at the bottom. So as you read, you should always start with the discussion questions, and the reason for that is reading the discussion questions before you even approach the text, it will prime your mind for the answers to those questions as you are reading. So it sort of gives you some purpose, gives you a purpose for reading as you approach the text. So this is what you essentially need to be on the lookout for as you're reading. First, in the opening section, the author asks, is this doing damage? And for the discussion question, you are going to discuss whether or not that question is answered through the interview, and what sections of the interview specifically stand out as important answers to that question. Secondly, I'm curious to read about what you think of this question and answer structure. Right? So specifically in your response to this discussion question, I want you to talk a little bit about what the value of that structure is, that back and forth sort of question and answer structure, and explain how it adds to your experience or to the overall quality of the article. And lastly, and this one's important, Dr. Erin Vogel is visiting us this coming Friday. And so I would like for each of us to prepare some solid and thoughtful questions that we can just kind of keep with us, so that when she's with us, we can ask those questions and get her insight, right? So these can be questions that are regarding what is discussed in the article itself. So if you come across something where you are like, wow, I wish I had more information on that, or I wonder what this means, it can be relevant to the text. Or perhaps it's not relevant to this particular article, but if you have questions that are relevant to our project or to her expertise, you can ask those questions as well. So any questions that you have about the article that we're reading, or just in general, how social media is affecting our psychology, those are the questions that I want us to have prepared for the question and answer section of her conversation when she visits us this Friday. Okay, that is all that I have for you. If you have questions about this assignment, feel free to reach out and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I am going to be in SLCs all day, every day, but I will try to break away occasionally when I can to read my emails. So, and another thing, before I go, it's really important to know this is a bit longer. It's about 3 pages total. It's about 3 pages total. And so how you approach this, the completion of this assignment, is up to you. If you want to split it in half and do one half one day and then finish it on the next day, that's fine. If you want to just get it over with all on one single day, that's fine as well. However, I cannot stress enough, do not rush through this assignment. Your grade will depend on how thorough your highlighting and your note-taking is, okay? Again, I'm not asking you to simply read. I am asking you to demonstrate your deep and critical thinking about this text. And the only way you can demonstrate that to me is by highlighting and annotating. So I can't stress this enough. Please be very, very thorough in your analysis and in your highlighting and annotation of this assignment. All right, good luck. And again, if you need anything, reach out via email, and I will see you on Thursday.